Hey, everybody, welcome to the second hour of the Santita Jackson Show. The second hour of the Santita Jackson Show. Like and share, like and share, like and share. AM 950 Radio, the voice of progressive Minnesota. That is my home station, soon to be one of my stations. I'm so grateful and so glad that we're being picked up, but I'm glad that we're being picked up by you online as well. And so, everybody, um, let's like and share. Please go to the Santita Jackson Show YouTube channel, the Santita Jackson Show YouTube channel, and like and subscribe. And everybody, Robert, pass the show along. Like and share, like and share. That helps us. And Robert, Attorney Robert Patillo, you know this helps you with your algorithms. We really need to do that. You get a lot of traction. Facebook will give you a call and ask you. They will tell you, okay, we did your analytics. This is where you're strong. This is where you can get stronger. And what we need you to do is ultimately send everybody to YouTube because that is where they want everybody. So if you would help me, that'll help us to grow the show as well. So please go to the Santita Jackson Show YouTube channel, the Santita Jackson Show YouTube channel, and but still become my friend on Facebook on the Santita Jackson and Friends Facebook page, the Santita Jackson and Friends Facebook page. And I'm also on Twitter, which is X, the Santita J, at Santita J, and there's the Santita J show, but at Santita J. Let's just keep it simple. Let's keep it simple. Hey, we are in the midst of election season, election fever. Hey, Robert. Hey, Bernadette. Everybody's sending you all so much love today. Like and share the show. Like and share the show. Thumbs up, thumbs up, thumbs up. Everybody, like and share the show. Let's talk about what's happening on, on the Democratic side. It had at the beginning of the year, we thought this was going to be a ho hum race because it appeared that the nominees were predetermined. Yeah, while that may have been true, you can't call all the other things that have happened. Attorney Robert Patillo and Sheila Garland from the Poor People's Campaign of Illinois. And of course, Attorney Robert Patillo, Rainbow Push, WAOK Radio. Your show is still on the air before you make this other move. We won't announce it yet, but you are still on the air from 1 to 4 every Sunday, Eastern Standard Time on WAOK.
Absolutely.
Okay, all right. And listen while you can because he's about to make a big move and we're very excited about that so that his gifts can be used in so many other places. Robert's so brilliant, and it's just exciting to see you continuing to build. That having been said, hey Zenobia, hey Dave, hey, and hey, everybody wants to hear what you got to say about all of this that's happening because there's a lot that is going on. There's a lot that is going on. People, there is a VP Unity campaign. And what is the VP Unity campaign? Roots Action. We were just talking with Sam Rosenthal, their lead organizer in the last hour. They're looking at Josh Shapiro, who appears to be the front runner. And they're saying, no, he's not the one. He's someone who has compared these demonstrators who've been supporting Palestinian rights and Israeli security. He's compared them to KKK, to the KKK. He has been ardently, stridently opposed to them in their protest. He is also opposed. He's supported school vouchers. He's not really been as supportive of public education as we need him to be. You just keep on going, and his record is disturbing. Indeed, there is a website that calls him Genocide Josh. So now we are in the season, in the moment, in the 4 or 5 days where you are going to be able to vote the delegates to the convention on Kamala Harris as the nominee. That started yesterday. So by the time you hear this, it will have started several days before. But it ends on the 5th at 6 p.m. On the 6th, Attorney Robert Patillo, she's going to announce her VP pick. It occurred to me that the delegates, all 1,976 of those she needs to affirm, the 3,900 delegates, that they will not have voted on. They will not have voted on a VP pick. They just voted on her, and I guess it's just trust me. So I need you to help me with that, particularly as we look at all of the issues surrounding Josh Shapiro before we move into this virtual process, which it makes you wonder why you're going to even bother coming to Chicago. And what's the rush? Please, everybody, like and share, like and share. Hey, Bernadette. You said, did I know that Facebook is doing a fact check on the show? They can go on and check. And you know what they'll call false information? The truth that we give to you. So let them go on and do what they're going to do. We're going to keep on talking. And we're going to keep on walking to freedom land, as they keep on saying. I'm not worried about them because they've already suppressed and depressed my numbers. So that's why I need you all to help me to move this forward, because they're not checking on people who are calling for the genocide of people, not just in the Middle East, but in Haiti. While we're talking about this, I can't get Haiti on the discussion, and that's in our hemisphere. We're still pushing Haitians out to the sharks when they're trying to get here seeking asylum status. So let them fact check. Let them do what they're going to do. Let us do what we're going to do. I need you all to like and share the show and let people know that we are here. And what we're trying to do is give you the truth, not my truth, not your truth. Truth is neutral. Truth is either true or it's a lie. So let them do what they're going to do. I'm unafraid of that. I'm going to keep on saying what I'm saying because I want to see Jesus one day, and I want God to say, well done. That's where I come in. Boom. How about that piece? So, having said all of that, Sheila Garland, I'm so glad that you got up so early to be with us. And yeah, you heard me. Yeah, and I'll add more to it. Some more seasons to that. And Attorney Robert Till, let me start with you. When you look at Josh Shapiro's record, and when you look at how this nomination process is being handled, there's a lot to it. But let's start with Josh Shapiro, because you're looking at Mark Kelly, who's at a border state. Some I don't think Gretchen Whitmer's on the short list, but they were looking at her. They were looking at Gavin Newsom, although a California ticket. But you did see two guys from the South in '92 with Clinton and Gore. But it was a generational change that was being ushered in, so people forgave that, right? So what is the pushback, as you understand it, on Josh Shapiro?
Josh Shapiro is from a lean Republican state demographically, and because of this, he is significantly more conservative than many people in the progressive wing of the Democratic Party would be. Now, this is kind of normal if you look at the way the Democrats normally structure their tickets, with the exception of the '92 ticket of Clinton and Gore. You normally have a more progressive candidate at the top, balanced out by a more conservative candidate in the 2 seat, or you'll have a more conservative 1 seat, and then you have a more progressive 2 seat. But I think particularly with regards to everything going on with Israel right now, having someone who says that they're basically 100% supportive of Netanyahu, who does not call for a ceasefire, who takes the IDF platform on many of these things, it's something conservative or many progressives are very uncomfortable with. Part of the reason that Biden's poll numbers began to drop to the point that the party had to replace him was because of his failure to immediately at the beginning call for a ceasefire. We remember after October the 7th, he really tried to thread this needle on being supportive of Israel, flying to Jerusalem, meeting with Netanyahu, supplying the weapons necessary, but also calling for restraint. Netanyahu has made it clear for the last 40 years he has no interest in restraint. This is like putting a pork chop on a plate and then leaving a pit bull in the room. We know exactly how this is going to end. And because of that, President Biden started getting bogged down by the uncommitted movement, protests against him, and then he got linked to Netanyahu. And above anything else, that is what sunk his campaign. When it came to the presidency, everything else, if you look at the economic numbers, if you look at foreign policy, everything else is going pretty well, except for the policy on Israel. So having a vice presidential nominee who has an even more pro-Israel policy than Joe Biden did may become an issue. Now, people don't vote for the bottom of the ticket. President Trump made that clear during his speech to the NABJ, saying that, look, who cares about this weird dude that I picked for vice president? Y'all are coming for the main show, not the side show. But at the same time, if you see what Obama did with Biden back in 2008, making him kind of the ambassador to the Rust Belt, making him the person that could go into Scranton and can go into Ohio, Michigan, etc., then that may be what the party is thinking. My money will be on Mark Kelly. Boring, old, white guy. That's what you're looking for.
But
also, military veteran, astronaut, brilliant, pro gun control record, border state. He checks every single box that you need, and I think that's going to end up being the pick. If I was putting a betting number on things, I would bet Mark Kelly.
Well, but where is this? Why? But they're announcing in Philadelphia. Do you understand the imaging behind that, or the thinking behind it?
I do, and they announce they always announce in a swing state, and I think the last 10 elections, the person from that swing state was not on the ticket. So I think that, well, quite frankly, with Shapiro, he's probably best left at the governor's seat because he has so little executive experience, and he can still campaign exactly the same for Kamala Harris as the governor of Pennsylvania as he could as the VP in Pennsylvania. He offers as much to the party as governor as he would at VP. The only issue with Mark Kelly that I think people will run into is that he's up for a special election in 2026, and there is the question if anybody can hold on to that Senate seat besides Mark Kelly. So that may be a consideration for down the line, but given the exigent danger that the nation is in and the need to win this election, I think it's going to be an all hands on deck moment, and they're going to tap Mark Kelly. But I also think that Democrats have to realize, the rank and file, that they've now pulled back the mask. They pulled back the curtain to show that we don't actually have a voice in this. We don't get to pick the nominee. We don't get to pick the vice president. There's a group of donors and advisors and insiders who decide who we democratically get to elect. And I think that's the conversation we have to have after this election to find out how to bring the same democratic process that Reverend Jackson brought in '84 and '88 has been cleansed out of the party. And we have to return to a place where the people actually have a voice in who the nominee is.
Well, because that really has been that's been the issue. Now we're seeing how the sausage is being made, right?
Mhm.
That it really is not a democratic process. I was sitting next to, I must say, we had to go. Reverend won Puerto Rico outright in 1988. Josh Feinstein, Jews and Allies of Michigan, and of course the Poor People's Campaign of Illinois, Sheila Garland. Um, and we went to we went down to Puerto Rico, and I said, "Well, Dad, why are we coming down here?" It was like June, just before the convention. He said, "I'm coming to get my delegates back." I said, "Okay." He said, Ted Kennedy, made a phone call to the governor and took all of my delegates from me. And Reverend had won the state out, had won the territory outright. So he said, "So I'm coming here." He said, Daddy is third person. Daddy's going down here, and we're going so we can get our delegates back. And we did get them back because we forget that everyone, the Republican and Democratic parties, are private corporations. They can do whatever it is that they want to do. Now, maybe you don't like how this works, but this is how this happens. Now, if you want a democracy, as we're talking about fighting for this democracy that's under some existential threat, well, this is the threat that you're seeing. And it's not just Trump. No, no. This is bigger than Trump. Because, I mean, they're all in it. Trump is following the playbook. I'm not giving him excuses, y'all. I'm just saying he's following the playbook. This is how he keeps telling you this is how this is done, everybody, and everybody gets angry with him. No, you're doing it. No, they're doing it, and they've been doing it for a long time. Robert, you've been with Reverend since you were in college. You have
Mhm.
seen it. And we've been fighting this fight for the longest time. And it's like, do you guys want to win or what? And more
Hey,
than
one,
that, do you want to do right?
Yeah, one of the things I think people can't disagree with Trump on is when he attacks the electoral system in America. We all know these elections aren't free and fair. We all know that we don't have a democratic voice, particularly in the primary process. And I think when he started pulling back that curtain and letting people realize how unfair and how loaded the process is, and how much power the donors and insiders and special interests have in selecting the candidates, I think that's where he started getting more crossover people who really weren't MAGAs, but who understood that the system by its very nature was broken. And some Democratic candidate is going to have to address that because you can't just leave that as being the elephant in the room that we just had an old white guy as the candidate, and now there's a young African American and Indian woman as the candidate, and nobody really had a say in it besides the party insiders. I think at some point you're going to have to address that with the American people.
You got to deal with that. And I have to deal with this before I move to you, Josh, and Sheila. I've gotten a message that Facebook is fact checking my show. Don't worry about that, everybody. That's why I need you to like and share the show because they might even ban it for a few weeks. That's fine with me. We're going to keep on going. We're going to keep on going. I'm not intimidated by that. That's a game that they're playing. They blocked Norman Solomon because he called for peace before a shot was fired in Ukraine. Now you got more than 500,000 Ukrainians have been killed. Really? I'm with Norman Solomon. How about that? I'm with Dr. King. I'm with Jesse Jackson. I'm with folks who really want to change the world and make it what it's supposed to be. I want to end poverty.
Yeah.
I want Americans to stop that. And I want the world to stop being raped by the oligarchs.
Yep.
God will satisfy your every need, not your every greed. There are too many greedy people out here. The world, God has given us enough resources on earth. The UN did a study more than 30 years ago that showed that there's enough land in the world for every man, woman, and child to have 3 acres. So why does Bill Gates need to buy all of the farmland? Why does J.D. Vance have to have a venture capital company that owns farmland that will allow you to work it? He's a sharecropper.
Wow.
Well,
So now check that out. Yeah, fact check that.
yeah.
So they can do whatever it is that they want to do. I'm not intimidated by that, and you should not be intimidated by it either. These people are playing games with us. In the meantime, the Lancet study said 186,000 people have been killed in Gaza already. I'm going to say it.
Mm-hmm.
They say 500,000 people will have been killed. I'm going to say they won't even mention Haiti.
Mm-mm.
They just kill everybody in Haiti and won't let them in the United States. I am sick of it.
Mm-hmm.
You try to overthrow Maduro. You tried to kill. Oh, everybody wonders what happened to Chavez.
Oh, Lord, yes.
I mean, just stop it.
Mm-hmm.
Just stop.
Mm-hmm.
You think God's going to continue to bless this madness? I am not playing, and I am not intimidated. So let them do what they're going to do. Now, what I need you to do is like and share the show. How, Paula, they can try and hush my voice. The only person, the only entity that can hush my voice is God. No one has power over me but that entity. So I'm good with this. That's my stock that I'm from. I grew up with the police. I grew up with people trying to kill us every single day. You can't do anything else to me, darling. I'm over it. Most of my friends ain't got their daddies. They were killed in public. That's the problem with someone like me. And that's why they try to take someone like me out. Because I can't be frightened by anything you do. Nothing. Now I believe in America. Let me switch tracks here. Well, following with that. And if you want to fight for democracy, I want a democracy. I want a candidate that we all vote on. You all knew that Joe Biden had problems all along. So what you did was an end run around the primary process, and you put someone in who did poorly 4 years ago. I like Kamala Harris, but those are the facts. And now if Seymour Hersh, one of the most respected journalists in the history of American journalism, if he's to be believed, there's a lot of game in putting her on the ticket. I mean, really? Is that how you want this to go for y'all? Let's just stop. So let them fact check. I fact check too. That's why I bring the facts here. But I know they call Dr. King a liar. They call everybody who tells you the truth a liar while they lie. These people lie all the time. They even stop giving you the body count in Gaza because they don't want you to know what these people have done. They are murderers. It's a horrible thing that they've done over there. But you know what? King Leopold killed 20 million Africans, Josh. We don't hear about that.
We don't hear about that.
20 million. And he just figured the rest.
And sold their body parts for souvenirs.
And then brought them and brought shrunken heads and whatnot into Belgium. Are you for real? No. Yeah. So I come with receipts. Everybody, I need you to like and share. Like and share. Let them do what they're going to do. Now let us proceed. The Rainbow Push Convention is August 15th through the 18th. We're leading into the Democratic Convention. I don't know what we're going to have in Chicago. But I mean, what I'm hearing about Josh Shapiro, Josh Feinstein, is like, whoa, wait a minute. He's someone who would push the uncommitted further away. Yeah. I mean, when you like and demonstrated to the KKK, I mean, really? What is that?
Interesting choice again.
And pardon my rant.
No,
but,
no.
I mean,
if anything, I think also.
But some of my listeners are alarmed by that, and I want them to know don't be alarmed. Let's just keep on going.
Listen,
Josh.
one thing I appreciate about your show is that it always does stay fact-based. Fact-based. You see the pain that Attorney Robert Patillo goes to explain and to show, to back up things with evidence. What I've also noticed as a host, what you've done is when people veer from the facts and they start to get personal, you always take it back. You said, that's not what we're here for. We're not here to attack people personally, where we stand, and we always stick to the issues. So, yeah, to being fact checked. I almost see it as a good sign because it means that people are starting to pay attention.
Well, there's
So I
that.
see that it means people are starting to pay attention, and so I sort of welcome it. Is we stick to the truth, and that's all that matters. In terms of sticking to the truth, Shapiro, on our last time I was on your show, we talked about, is Kamala Harris going to veer to the right or veer to the left? She's at a fork in the road. Now, it appears the possibility of Shapiro means a hard veer to the right. And again, we all are on the same page in terms of Gaza and his position on Gaza. But the way he dealt with the students, I'm going to use the word abominable, dictatorial.
What did he do?
Sorry?
What did he do for people who don't know?
In terms of the student protests, he came down on the side of that they were treated as criminals. He very much backed a hard line on student protests. And a couple of other things. As a Jewish person, you hear from inside the camp that, focus on him is anti-Semitic. Once again, we have to divorce the idea of Judaism from Zionism. Proud Jews are proud Jews. We are not Zionists. We are non-Zionists. And I think the idea of any disagreement with Josh Shapiro's policies on Gaza, his points of view on Israel, is something that, because we disagree with it, does not make us anti-Semitic. It still makes us proud Jews, proud Americans. There is a very strong difference of opinion, and ours comes from a humanitarian point of view. But even with that, if you take in his points of view on fracking, his points of view on education, on LGBTQ rights, if you look at his different points, it is a veer to the right. That, I think, is a miscalculation for the Harris campaign. It is a miscalculation. If she wants to, quote, win this, then she really needs to actually, again, not necessarily reach out to the uncommitteds, but she needs to go left. Interesting. Oh, I hope you had a chance to spend some time with Jill Stein and Kelly during the debate. I don't know if you guys got a chance.
I did, but we were running. But I'm going to get her on the show.
Okay, great. Because I mean,
absolutely.
Jill herself, I see a lot of the answer, right? Mm-hmm. I think that it's not just Jill herself is so articulate and so thoughtful and insightful and able to put things together. It's the idea of what Jill represents is finding a way to break this two-party duopoly. The Democrats and Republicans, when you talk about it, in many ways, very little difference. And I always say, right now we live in the greatest, most wonderful democracy that money can buy. We
oh, Greg Palast, where are you?
In terms of breaking
and Michael Moore, boy, oh boy, but it's the best democracy money can buy.
So I'm thinking about, so how do we kind of break out of that cycle? Because that is a really tough mountain to climb. Being able to have something like a Green Party and the Independents start to rise up is the answer. Now, how do we do that? I don't know. I love what Jill's doing at the top of the ticket, but I should have had a V8. What I should have been thinking about is 4 months ago when we were starting to support down ballot candidates, and we have them now all running as underdogs on Democratic tickets, right? Should have had a V8. We should have had everyone run as independents to actually slice off to make that independents or Greens or whatever party will have you to from the down ballots, from the ground up, whether it's state rep, the House. We should be in the future running on a third party platform to actually create the idea of a third party possibility representing in government. Let me pause there because I've been talking for a while and I've gone.
No. Yes, because what we're trying to do is work our way through this, right? Because here we are. because
Yes.
in the last hour, Attorney Robert Patillo and Sheila Garland, I had, because we're having, while the cast, the affluent black class within our cast are very supportive of Kamala Harris. Attorney Robert Patillo, you can attest to this. We went to HBCUs.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Black folks on the ground don't feel the same way. Working class
Yeah.
Black people, right?
Yeah, and I think this is a spot that the Biden or that the Harris campaign is going to have to do something about. And this is a place where President Trump, the troll in chief, is brilliant at. Because the only reason that he went to NABJ was to change the national conversation because there was so much momentum picking up in the African American community for Kamala Harris. And so you go in, you find a little seam of division in our community, and most people say, well, I that's not somewhere where we want to go. He pulls the scab off, and he throws alcohol on it. Then he hops on a plane and leaves.
But
And
wait a
so,
minute, but hold on. But as a host, you know
Mhm.
that they have done the back channel since they got
Yes.
into office.
Mhm.
They have been trying to get on our shows, television and radio, wherever they could. From 2015 on, Josh,
Mhm.
he had a tour where he met Black entrepreneurs from coast to coast to let them know he was about to run. What do you want? Look, and let me tell you something. I love NABJ, but you don't invite someone to your house and treat them rudely. You don't make them wait 35 minutes, and you don't start off in a hostile way.
I somewhat disagree. I think that I like the first part you sense. You don't in terms of them inviting him there. I think that was a mistake. I think because he came in and he took over, but that's what he does. The whole the was the scorpion and the turtle. The scorpion can't cross the water. He asked the turtle for a ride. Turtle says, I'm not going to give you a ride across the water. You're going to bite me and then you're going to kill me. He's like, oh, no, I wouldn't do that. I wouldn't do that. Scorpion gets on the turtle's back. They're halfway through the water. Scorpion stings the turtle, says, you said you wouldn't sting me. You just sting me. Now we're both going to drown. We're both going to die. Why'd you do? And the scorpion says, that's on you. You know what I am. You knew what I was before we started this. So my point is everyone knows Trump's playbook, and he's just getting better at it. As you know, I'm very clearly not a fan and again, to stay respectful, I'll just say I'm not a fan of Trump, but knowing who he is and knowing how his modus operandi, and he's just watching how he did, he commanded that place. He really did. He turned it into usually a circus. To invite him to come, you are asking for trouble.
But
yes,
not in the age, let me say this, in the age of DEI, when everyone says, and DEI should not be a dirty word, you do need diversity, equity, and inclusion, and you do need affirmative action. We need to stop that. We need to take the power back on that.
Mhm.
The fact is, either we're journalists or we're not.
But that's just it. It was a journalist conference. If you want to quote, make it a safe space for journalists, make it a safe space for. Don't make it. By inviting him, they knew that it would
there is no safe space for journalists, and there shouldn't be. That's not
but
the Constitution protects a journalist. What you do is you invite him in, you ask your questions, and you keep it moving. He's going to do what he does. If
we'll
you're not
agree to
sharp
disagree
enough,
on this one because
we can disagree.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I don't think they should have invited him because the outcome was very much. They thought they could just like every news outlets think they can handle the fire and they can get their ratings up and still handle them. People initially years ago in the Republican Party, okay, we can bring him into the party. He won't take over the party. We can control him in the party. If you're going to invite him in, you know that he will take over, and he's just getting better and better at it. We'll agree to I still think they should not have invited him, and we'll agree to disagree on that point. I think once you invite him, he creates a different dynamic. But that's on, and again, that's on them.
Well, no, for me, I've dealt with hostile people all the time. The thing is, Black people would never have survived in this system if we did not outsmart these jokers. As we've had to negotiate with men we had to have their babies. No, I mean that's the Black experience. I'm keeping it 100 with you. We've had to be real crafty to survive this system. It has been cruel. So one guy, I look at him and I'm like, you don't bother me at all. I will invite you, and you gonna do what you do. I'm gonna be nice to you. I'm gonna let the Lord fight that battle, but I'm gonna bring you in because I am a journalist, and I should be asking everybody questions. Period. And then if I disagree with you, then you leave, and then that's it. And I'll have my commentary. But that we can disagree on that. And, we still love each other. That ain't no.
Well,
But
I'll be the tiebreaker.
that's not how the process works. We know that. I understand what you're saying, but that is not how this process works. On the side of the ruling class, they don't invite us into those circles to have our say. We're not able to go. If we do go in there and disrupt, we get arrested. Look at what happened. Over 500,000 people protested about Gaza. These were Democratic voters. They're being ignored at the top of the ticket.
Yeah.
And apparently, if she goes for Shapiro, it's going to be ignored by Kamala. Make no mistake. Who she picks is a political statement about where she is. All the stuff we're being presented as strategy and tactics. I cry BS. Can I say bullshit? I cry.
No, well, no. But, okay.
I'm sorry. Yes. But the reality is that this kind of stuff has been fed to us for decades. And so now we're down this path. I said last year, we don't know who's going to end up at the top of the ticket on the Democratic Party. There's so much disarray in the Democratic Party. I'm not sure if it's going to survive.
No, there's disarray for us, Sheila.
There's disarray for them, but there's also disarray when you have CFR talking about the Democratic Party, that is the think tank, the political think tank of the ruling class of this country. When you have the DFR talking about what's going to happen, how are we going to control this situation, we've got a problem on our hands. There's these, throughout my life, you have people saying, if somebody sneezes, we got the flu. And when I say we, I want to make it clear. I'm talking about poor and low income people in this country. I'm not specifically talking about Black folks. I'm talking about all of our allies.
But
all
Sheila,
of our allies who are
that's
poor.
who we've been fighting for. When Reverend, let me just interrupt you here. When Reverend won Michigan that night, I went into the hotel suites that we were in were always offices. They were not places where we luxuriated. Robert, you can attest to that. You got everybody's in the living room working, and everybody orders a hamburger because that's what we could afford, and that's it. I saw in a 6 or 7 person field, Reverend got 56% of the vote. I went into the living room. I said, Mom, Dad has won Michigan. She said, okay, good. Because she was talking to some people, and because we still got to get to Wisconsin. I mean, we're campaigning all the time. I said, no, Mom, you need to come in here. She said, I'll be there in a minute. I said, Mama, he won Michigan. She said, oh, that's good. I said, no. He's really won 56% of the vote. She said, huh? Oh, wow. Phone rings. It's Daddy. He's like, wow. And then I always step away because it's my parents talking. She's talking to her husband. He's talking to his wife. And she said, he's got to come to Washington. The powers that be reached out immediately because he had to get to D.C. And what they wanted to know from him at the big meeting was, what do you want, Jesse? Because Time and Newsweek had to stop the presses because they had already printed up their magazines. That was Saturday night. Sunday, they had to stop the presses because they had to come up with a new magazine that they had to put on the stands on Monday. I'm telling you how this works. I'm not telling you something I'm guessing. I'm trying to share with y'all how this thing works. All I have known with Reverend all of my life are hostile forces in the media. Fox, who I ended up working for, tried to put him out of business. We had to keep auditors in the office because they were jamming us. That comes with the territory when you are a freedom fighter, y'all. You're not going to come into an audience that are going to be friendly to you. And it doesn't happen that way. And you got to win your way through these people lying on you, trying to throw you off. That is how this works. We ran, Sheila, on the poor, not the Black poor. Reverend went into Appalachia. People thought he was crazy. Milking cows at state fairs. People thought he was crazy. But it was not for the campaign. We've been doing that all of his life because that was the mission that Dr. King put him on. This poor people's campaign has been ongoing for years and years and years, and people have always sought to break it up. Thankfully, we're mature enough now to begin to really, and Dr. King was starting it, and we kept on going with it. Because if we didn't keep on going with it, Reverend wouldn't have run on a poor people's agenda.
Exactly.
Which would have met Jim Hightower, and Willie Nelson would have left us in the dust with, because he was talking about poor people. They said, oh, no, we're with it. So I'm simply saying this is how this works. You don't get a pass. And when you look at Donald Trump, he is playing this thing like a champ. And I wish
He's just
we could
getting
learn
better
from him.
and better. And again,
And wait a minute, and we should be getting better and better. All Reverend's opposition did was make him the best, whoever did it, because he had no protection.
when I say he's getting better, I do not say it with admiration. I
didn't say it with
factually.
admiration.
No, I say factually.
No, I'm just saying factually. I didn't admire the people who were trying to take us out. I had to go to school on that, Josh.
Yes.
My brother had to go to boarding school at 10 or 11 years of age because we had hostile teachers who would grade us down. I had to work my behind off.
Wow.
So I could get through the public school system because I had hostile teachers. They never would have let Jesse Jackson Jr. through.
Wow.
So my parents had to send them away. Do you think my parents wanted to send their children away to school? This is power, y'all. This is how this works. Get a clue. Nobody's going to protect you. If they're protecting you, then you are an errand person for the oligarchy. Because if you're a freedom fighter, if you want to end the war in Gaza, if you want justice in Haiti, if you want to end poverty, they're coming for you. And that's how it goes. Otherwise, get in another fight.
Okay. Mic check.
and Santita, on that point, I think this is the problem that we have when you allow the donors to pick the candidate. When you allow the ruling class to really select who the people are. We saw this in 2016 with Bernie, where they were not allowed to have a free and fair process, and Hillary came out as a candidate that was kind of lazy and profligate when it comes to campaigning, that wasn't willing to do the work that was necessary because she thought she had it in the bag because the primary process had been, because it had been given to her. So you never got into that dogfight. You missed the entire undercurrent that was stirring in America, the whole Bernie revolution. And because you had the powers that be simply suppress it for you, you assume that it wasn't there. And then come election day, those women, those same women who had the I'm with her shirt on, they covered the shirt up, they walked into the ballot box with their husband, they pulled the lever for Trump, they walked back outside and put their pink hat on and went to the protest on Monday. That's just what the statistics bear out. When Trump got, I think, was it 54% of the white female vote in 2016 versus Hillary Clinton, and some states and some regions, and so now here we are, a decade into Trumpism. And to kind of split the King Solomon style, split the baby in half between you and Josh, I think that you have to invite Trump, but you have to know how to interview Trump. Part of the issue is with these silos in media, you have people on the progressive side of the aisle who think they know how to talk to conservatives, and they don't. They have no idea how to conduct these interviews because they only listen to MSNBC, they only listen to progressive radio, they only talk to other progressives, and they think, oh, I'm just going to sit here and fact check Trump and it's going to work. No. Argue with MAGAs every single week, and you will understand there's a very specific way you have to attack them, because otherwise they will filibuster the clock out and you'll never be able to pin them down. And that's what we saw with the Trump NABJ interview, because he had no reason to answer any questions. He can only filibuster out because he knows there's only going to be 30, 45 minutes for them to talk to you. So they had no idea how to actually interview Trump, and they let him dominate the conversation. They let him set the agenda. They let him get his talking points out that he wanted to get out, and then as soon as he was done, he has got up and walked off. He used the NABJ conference as a public toilet, effectively, to spew his malarkey across the American public, and then he blunted a lot of the Kamala momentum that was being built into the vice presidential pick, because now he's detoured the entire conversation away from JD Vance being a weirdo, away from his kind of floundering campaign, and now all Black Twitter is talking about is, hey, are biracial people really Black? Is Kamala really Indian American? He changed the entire conversation with one sentence and walked off because he's willing to be the bad guy. And when you don't understand that, you don't understand Trumpism, you don't understand what happened the last decade of politics.
Excellent.
One of the things that I've learned from Reverend Josh, and maybe he learned it as a Black boy growing up in the Jim Crow South, maybe something when my mother met my father's people, she thought they were a strange group because the color lines in the Black community, Josh, are real. Very light skinned, mixed race Black folks would not, Robert, they didn't even, you didn't marry them.
You didn't talk to them.
You didn't talk to them. You had to have a paper bag test to get into the Black schools. If you were not lighter than the paper bag, you couldn't get in because the Black schools were built by the slave masters for their children who they would not let into the white schools.
Wow.
Okay.
Wow.
So when my mother met my father's people who were part of that class, she said one day we were in the open market and your great grandmother was shopping for vegetables. And she was reading this vendor who was a white man, the Riot Act. This is like 1963. So, the walls of segregation had not been broken down. I was born in a colored women's hospital in Greensboro. Okay.
Wow.
L. Richardson Hospital for colored women.
Wow.
My mother said she was sitting there with my great grandmother Tibby, and she said, I'm trying to figure out how we're going to get out of this market alive because she is reading this white man, the Riot Act. She is telling him, she's almost threatening him, don't you dare overcharge me, boy. She said, I never heard Black folks talk to white folks that way. She said, but it occurred to me, oh my goodness, she might be related to him. Oh boy. And when I met Marshall Frady, the gentleman who was my father's official biographer, who was a white man from an affluent white family in Greenville, South Carolina. They grew up across the tracks from each other. He knew my father's family and gave me the history. He said, y'all were in Easley because that's where mixed race Black folks went. I said, really? He knew so much. But my point is, it's the negotiation because ain't nobody mixed race in the Black community. You gotta drop Black blood, you're Black, and that's it. And that's where I am because my politics are Black. Okay. The thing is, you learn to negotiate. You learn to talk to people so that you can figure your way out the room, Josh, because Black people can't pass.
Wow.
You can pass. I can't. I get killed on sight. So my negotiation with white America has been very different because I ain't got no space. If they find out that I've got a drop of Black blood, I'm dead.
Wow.
Okay. So I'm just saying that's been our history. So I don't have the space not to negotiate with Trump. And I'm not going to compare him to a Bull O'Connor or Bull Connor. I mean, no. Because see, we keep trumping up this fear, no pun intended. I'm not afraid of anybody. What?
Wow.
After what we have survived? No. This is crazy. But to learn not to have Harris Faulkner on that stage from Fox News, who I know who has been a colleague, and not figure out what her style is and how that works for Trump. That's not smart.
Now I understand. One, again, when I'm on your show, to be frank, it's quite an education for me as well. It really is.
But baby, we're learning from each other.
Yeah.
Josh, you teach me things. The things that you know in your space, I don't know. That's why I keep asking you about your journey from how you grew up to here, because we're teaching each other. That's why we're a bunch of oddballs up on the air every day. Sheila.
So after everything, I will concede to both you and Attorney Robert Patillo that him being on the stage, that there really would be no harm to open the conversation with, welcome. You served as our president, whether we agree or disagree, welcome here. We're
so glad that you made the time, because I know this might be an audience that you might be a little concerned about, but I don't want you to be concerned. But we're not here to attack you. We're here to find out from you.
A couple of things. I do not have the expertise about if I was hosting about how to so you both are correct that you have to know how to do the engagement, and I wouldn't know how to do it. Again, starting off with not just saying hello. Actually, that doesn't matter that that's his style or such. If you want to elevate the conversation, you have to do that. But I still come back to the idea of what you pointed out is that you've had no choice. You have to engage. I understand respect. In this particular instance, the consortium had a choice. They did not have to engage, and yet they chose to bring him there to engage, to actually probably for eyeballs. And I think that that was an unnecessary position they put themselves in. And that's what I mean. They, if it was my consortium, I'd say, you know what, this is for us. Let's have our space right now. Let's do our thing. And, you know, God bless him. We'll deal with him some other time. So that's my different point of view on it. But I still think that you both are right that they didn't know how to engage with him. But again, he's gotten really, really good at this. He was always good at this game.
Mm-hmm.
I personally, if I was to, you know, be in a room with him, I do not know how even I would effectively engage. And it's funny, I don't want to even give him that power, but it's the fact that he's become.
You give him the power when you become hostile. Because people, you got to make sure that people never see you coming. I learned this from Reverend, and it was reinforced by Roger Ailes, who hired me to be at Fox. He said, "Let me tell you, MSNBC would be easy for you." He said, "But for you, he said, first of all, he wanted women to look a particular way. He said, because when people click, they stop for women who are attractive." So you know what I learned when I got there? The baddest makeup artist in television row were at Fox.
Mm-hmm. Still till this day.
To this day. They might not make you up locally, but if you're going to come on the national air, the first time I was in Chicago, I didn't have lashes on. They got a call from his office. Don't ever do that again.
Wow.
First of all, keep her hair pulled back. I want to see her face. Lashes. Do her eyes. Because Roger was from Hollywood. He said, "Now, Santita, this is where you're unique. Your politics are what they are. I don't want you to change them." Because remember, this is a man who also advised Rachel Maddow and helped to negotiate her contracts.
Wow.
He said, "Now, look, I want you to be able to," he said, "people will never see you coming. And I think they'll like you as much as I do. They might not like your points of view." He said, "But you might win some people." He said, "But that's okay." He said, that's the space that you're in. Use it. Give them the unexpected. Don't let Trump see you coming. But first of all, don't start off hostile with anybody. You hurt yourself. What I want as a Black person, negative wealth is coming my family's way by 2085. That's my brother's children's children. That is what unsettles me. Poverty that is persistent, that is getting deeper and wider, that concerns me. Whoever gets in there, I need you to answer those questions. Again, Black folks have never had the space to shut anybody out. I can't do that because I'm stuck here in some hostility. I got folks, black folks in the North and Northern refugees. We were chased out of the South. Chased out. Had to leave the land that was ours behind. The first time a bomb was dropped in the United States was dropped by white folks using Army planes on Black people, Black Americans. That's America to me. And I still love this country. So, I mean, I'm feeling you, but I'm just saying, learn how to deal with your enemy. You got to learn how to deal with them. Like my great grandmama had to learn. My great grandmama had to learn, because Black folks are products of white forefathers and Black foremothers. Let that settle in on you. Had to figure out a negotiation so my next generation could survive.
Wow.
Yeah, America has been about survival for my people. Wow. Like you had to figure out, because I have some very dear Jewish friends who said, the things we had to do to survive Nazi Germany. Because I had to negotiate with these jokers who were patrolling our streets. So a friend of mine came and said, my grandmother came here with an edge. Because only God knows, he said to me, what she had to do to survive, to keep her husband safe. Oh, I said, I can completely relate to that.
Very, very similar in terms of Jewish experience in Europe, in Germany. But you mentioned about the shades of different color or being Black or whatnot. There were tests in terms of Jewishness or Germanness back then, which is very similar. But getting back to, so what do we do? What do we do? Again, it really comes down to the power we have is in exercising the vote. I don't know how many of your listeners actually hail from Michigan, but we are coming up to the primary. With the down ballot, if you are in depending on the district, there's Ahmed Ghanem, there's Mary Waters.
Is that August?
So Tuesday, August 6th is the actual program. But early voting is going on right now. So if you're in Michigan and you haven't voted yet, get on there and vote for those pro-Palestinian, pro-ceasefire candidates. Whether it's Ahmed Ghanem or Rashida Tlaib or Mary Waters, that ticket. And then at the state level, depending where you are, there's Layla Taha, there's Rima Mohammed, there's Chris Geller Hines, Dylan Wegla. I could go on. Something I should do the more service of going on and on. But the thing is, this is where the future is trying to get the down ballot in the ticket chart to get some representation there. And it begins in the primary. So I think more to come on that as we get to also pass the primary to see where this heads. But in the future, we really need to start to, and I know it's not particularly sexy or exciting, but we really do need to start to focus more on these down ballots over the next couple of years and do it not be as, at this point, really as Democrats, but start to do it as a third party, whether it's independent or green or whatever we want to call ourselves. Start to get our down ballot candidates on that third party run cycle. Because one, well, more chance in the primary. And two, we can actually then shift this two-party system to something that begins to resemble a proper coalition. Again, not the most exciting topic, but this is how we start to affect change.
And, I think that we have to look at the history of this country, how we ended up with the Republican Party. It was a result of the fusion of the elimination of the Whig Party and certain sections, but there was also a crisis. I mean, a huge economic crisis that was at play. We ignored talking about that in these circles. We have a huge economic shift that is revolutionary in terms of being able to create in abundance with very little human labor. The consequences we're witnessing. So while I understand everybody has to have a strategy, I think it has to be rooted in the history of this country. And I do want to say, Santita, that you're right. Dropping a bomb in Philadelphia was horrific for Black folk. That was the first time in modern history.
Oh,
but let's not forget, that there was a bomb dropped on Appalachian whites by this government in the early 1900s because they dared to organize in the mines. So the point that I'm trying to make is that the fury and the terror that's unleashed on African Americans and that people see that gets played up in the media is designed to guarantee our division. We don't understand our history to our peril. When we got freedom after the Civil War, 4 million Africans who have been held in slavery liberated themselves, but there were also 5 million whites that benefited from Black Reconstruction. And we were able to have a period of democracy for about 10, 15 years. People, you should read W.E.B. Du Bois when he talks about Black Reconstruction and what happened. Mm-hmm. This is a part of our history and continue to impact us today. Today, we have a technology that is driving us into poverty. What I will say to the listeners here is that our strength is our numbers. We've got 140 million poor and low-income people in this country. That is comprised of every single group you can think about. We don't have unity because the ruling class say we can't be united. This is their greatest strength. We organize around their agenda, which means we organize around identity. That is a losing agenda. No matter what we do, we always lose. So this idea of developing some sort of independent political pathway, which Joshua was talking about and many people are talking about, is critical because that's the only way we can unite. This is why I'm a part of the Poor People's Campaign, because we're talking about 2/3 of the people of this country, 30% of the voters of this country are poor and low income. If we can get them to vote as a block, we can be, especially in the swing states, we can change the outcome of elections. Mm-hmm. We don't see ourselves as the same. We see ourselves as different. And I get that. There is difference. Our history, the way we were impacted by this country is different. But we do have to begin to look at what is a strategy that's going to get us where we need to be, and that we can begin to use the power of our unity in order to change the political landscape, but fundamentally to be able to address the economic issues that are driving us into poverty.
But that's why we have built on coalition politics, Sheila. I mean, none of this is new. What's new is that it's a new day. Now we're coming into another understanding of how we all need each other. If you look at the mission statement of the Southern Christian Leadership Conference, black and white's not mentioned in it. It says to save the soul of America. That's been the mission. It's the rainbow. It's the Poor People's Campaign of the 60s and of today. It ain't stopped. And what we have to do is get out of our silos and get with each other.
Absolutely.
And just because the plurality of Americans are independent, they are. And so, Josh, you got to come on here with Daryl Jones as we talk about protecting the vote, about voting down ballot. People need to understand that, because people are also getting so angered by the process, which is what we've been talking about, that they're talking about not voting, not because they're apathetic, but because they find this system to be pathetic, and they feel insulted. But stand by, because I've got to get out of here.
Okay.
And I want everyone to know that I love you, and we will see you, well, on Tuesday. But no, actually on on Keep Up Alive on Sunday. So just be with you on Sunday. I love you, everybody. And